with your decision to meet with us. I know we've tried to meet in the past, but that was not successful. But nonetheless, you have kept to your promise of engaging the Caribbean community on matters of mutual interest, but also on a number of very important global matters. On a lighter side, we would have hoped, at least some of us, that you were here to lobby to be the Secretary General of the United Nations. But we recognize your greater commitment at this time to the great people of Chile. We have also taken a very keen interest in your own leadership in your first term, and of course in the intervening period at the United Nations, and now in your second term as President of Chile, that you have taken a very keen interest in matters relating to the plight of women, children, and in particular the disadvantaged and the less fortunate. We too in CARICOM share those sentiments and concerns, and we look forward to working with you as we advance those very important ideals which confront the most vulnerable groups in our society. We also recognize that you have, your government and your country also places high on the agenda issues related to climate change. As you know, we in the Caribbean are a major group that suffers the consequences of climate change, notwithstanding the fact that we are the least contributor to greenhouse gas emissions. But we recognize our own global responsibility, and we have been working among ourselves, but also with various groups across the world to advance the concerns of small island states and nations like ours. Your Excellency, with these words and our appreciation of your visit here to Guyana, but of course to the Caribbean community, I wish to invite you to share with us your own sentiments on behalf of the government and people of Chile. Thank you.
Secretary General, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I want to say it's an honor for me to be here, and I really want to thank you for inviting me to participate in this meeting. It's always a pleasure to be with friends, but even so, when there is an opportunity to review the state of our relation with CARICOM and to jointly define new actions that can deepen the ties between us. Latin America and the Caribbean are a core priority of our foreign policy. In this regard, our relations with CARICOM plays an important role. We are sure that progressive integration and cooperation projects with countries and regional bodies in our region can make a difference when we seek to achieve a prosperous and inclusive future for our people. The starting point for the renewed relation between CARICOM and Chile was the signing of an agreement on scientific and technical cooperation 20 years ago. In joint statements in 2003 and 2012, we confirmed our interest in moving forward on the basis of our commonly defined priority issues. We have also increased our diplomatic presence in the region. I mean, we started last year, but today we will have the official inauguration of our embassy here in Guyana. CARICOM and Chile shares views on international issues and are working together to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals approved last September in the United Nations. We also agree on the need to comply with our obligations under the Paris Agreement and being part of a global answer to climate change. The 2030 Agenda guides our cooperation for development policy, including in the area of climate change and its impact on the marine environment, a central concern for countries in the Caribbean, but also in Chile as well. Well, we all know, and we are living the effect of that the world economy experiences serious difficulties. The economic slowdown affecting us suggests that we must stop depending on the export of commodities and their volatile price. We need to add value to our products, integrate global and regional value chains, and increase our participation in the knowledge society. At the same time, we have to reduce inequality and create opportunities for all our citizens. And we all know that development is multidimensional. Economic growth is not an end in itself. It must be a necessary means to achieving a more equitable, inclusive, and sustainable development. And public policies that take into account the economic, social, and environmental dimensions of development are thus crucial. We want prosperity, but not one solely measured by numbers, but one that impacts daily lives of our people in a society that values diversity and has the capacity to develop projects that include and benefits all. So to meet these challenges, we can and must work together. A stronger and deeper relationship between CARICOM and Chile can only bring us mutual benefits. The increase of intra-regional trade is an imperative of our times and the most appropriate and feasible answer to the declined commodity prices. Sectors such as tourism, education, energy, agriculture, and fisheries, to mention just a few, provide multiple opportunities for increasing our trade and investment flows. For many years, Chile was a recipient of international cooperation, and it was an irreplaceable contribution for our development. Today, we see ourselves that we have a dual role. We still have development gaps, which require the know-how of the international community. Yet we also are committed to share our good practices and experiences with public policies that have helped us to grow, to deepen our democracy, to improve the quality of our public administration, and to defeat poverty. We want to express here as a country, as a government, our solidarity with CARICOM countries that face the heavy burden of foreign debt. As ECLAC has stated, there are many reasons for this situation. Among them, the underperformance of the export sector, the increase in resources required to address the impact of climate change, and the limited access that middle-income countries had to concessional external financing. And Chile is ready to support any reasonable option that will effectively alleviate the burden and to share, if considered useful, our own experience in debt negotiation. Furthermore, in close collaboration with CARICOM, we have developed some cooperation programs focused on alleviating and preventing an increase in the debt burden, as well as common position regarding the issue of graduation. In the related issue, regarding the challenges of middle-income countries, in close collaboration with Antigua and Barbuda and the CARICOM Secretariat, as well as many other Latin American countries, we recently presented a proposal to the Development Assistance Committee, DAC, of the OECD regarding the need to review the criteria of graduation as official development assistance, ODA, recipient, based solely in income per capita. And the objective is to create a fifth category of middle-income countries still in need of assistance, considering the multiple dimensions of development. But let me return to mutual ties. Our 2015-2018 cooperation program with CARICOM, which included 15 of its member states, amounts to close to $12.2 million. Our strategy differentiates between Haiti and the English-speaking members of CARICOM. For the latter, the main areas of cooperation are social development, agriculture and food security, disaster prevention, and institutional strengthening and modernization. Regarding social development, it's worth noting the multidimensional approaches for poverty eradication project, which is focused on the member countries of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean State, OECS. This project, to which Chile has contributed $1 million, is administered by UNDP, was set up in 2015 and is under implementation. And this project aims to ensure that public policies in the social area take into account poverty, not only measured in terms of income per capita, but also through inclusion of other factors that reflect people's vulnerability. This project follows earlier Chilean projects with Caribbean countries such as Programa Puente, I think in English it was called Bridge Initiative, which allowed Chile and CARICOM countries to share experiences and ideas on the role of social policies in our countries. Regarding Haiti, the priority have been social development and food security. However, after the 2010 earthquake, we added a special reconstruction program with an emphasis on preschool and primary education. We are presently implementing a training program for preschool teachers. This project has a budget of $250,000 and it aims at reinforcing initial educational policy in Haiti. Well, here I'm a pediatrician, I'm a doctor, and I know how important the first 1,000 days of a child are in terms of their future. So we have in our country working a lot on initial education, initial development, and we are looking forward to work on this area we have had some success. But allow me to return to the issue of climate change. CARICOM has been of special concern for the international community in this area. The size of your economies, population, and territory, mostly insular, makes you very vulnerable to the effects of climate change in terms of human lives cost and economic consequences. And we empathize with this little dilemma, as we are also increasingly subject to natural disasters, including earthquakes, tsunamis, floods, droughts, and volcanic eruptions. I'm not talking in the history of Chile. We are 2 years in government, we have all of this, and only in almost 1.5 years. As well as we are also for us it's very important also the negative impacts of climate change in our marine and Antarctic environments. So we took this vulnerability into account when we defined the new cooperation projects for 2017-2018 under the Chile Fund Against Hunger and Poverty. The first is the program for institutional strengthening of policy management models and best practices for adaptation to climate change and disaster prevention in CARICOM. This program complements cooperation already in place and considers initial funding of $500,000 for the next 2 years. It aims to strengthen CARICOM institutions dealing with emergency management, especially those stemming from volcanic eruptions and tsunamis in small islands, sustainable development policies, adaptation model in coastal areas, and education for adaptation. We're also evaluating a new technical cooperation program in the area of marine pollution. The cooperation program has 2 objectives: to reduce plastic contamination and contamination via ghost fishing, which affect already depleted fish stocks. Chile, like some of you, participate in our ocean initiative. In fact, we hosted the 2nd version last year in Valparaiso, which aims to forge an agreement to protect our marine resources. And we believe that this program will allow us to jointly move forward in line with our commitments under our Ocean Initiative and the Paris Agreement. In addition, during the first semester of 2017, 4 professionals from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs International Economic Relations Directorate will come to Georgetown to exchange experiences with their counterparts in CARICOM countries in the area of trade negotiations and the implementation of trade agreements, because Chile has a long experience, and I would say a very successful experience, because we are a country with 17 million people. At that time when this decision we were less, like 14 or 13, we decided we could not depend on our internal market, so we decided we need to go outside to the world, and of course to be able to increase our trade, and on the other hand to attract foreign investment. So we are probably the country has more free trade agreement, and it has helped us a lot in terms of developing our economy and improving our people's life. So we have 25 free trade agreements with 65 countries throughout the world. Finally, during the first semester of 2017, there will be a training course in emergency management within the context of the training platform in natural disaster management from the Chilean-Japanese initiative Kizuna. I think, if I'm not wrong, Kizuna in Japanese means resilience. Therefore, strengthening our doubling efforts in the area of climate change and sustainable development. But can we go further than this? Well, Chile is open to free trade, with CARICOM countries if it's of interest, and to organize business roundtables to promote joint investment initiatives. Chile has about $100 million invested abroad, about 80% in Latin America, but only a very small percentage in the Caribbean. So we believe there's ample room to grow if we have the political will and if we are open opportunities for business people. We would also like to share with you good experience that you have and that we have in terms of good practices in supporting SMEs. And we have decided one of the next steps is how we help internationalize our SMEs. We would also like to share with you, and we learned that you have your climate change center in Belize, to work together, because one of the challenges of climate change, and probably many of you have already going through, and we will have, that is more in the long term, is in terms of food security. The population of the world will increase by 2050 and more than 9,000 million people. And food will be a huge problem. And with fresh water decreasing, we will need to work on different studies and research and develop agricultural possibilities to ensure that we can feed our people. So we know that you are doing a work on that, and we believe we're really interested in doing and working on that, on food security, leading with plagues, droughts, lack of fresh water, etc. In addition, as President pro tempore of Pacific Alliance since last Friday until July next year, Chile will continue to reach out to countries and regional blocs, including, if it's of interest, CARICOM. So one possibility is to envision CARICOM as an observer bloc and cooperation partner with the Pacific Alliance. So there is something that we are just proposing that we could work on it. So to finalize these words, I think our destiny is defined by solidarity. The strengthening of democracy, the search for equality, and the promotion of greater growth in our nations are very important to all of us. Political dialogue, cultural exchange and cooperation, investment and trade benefit us all and help us present ourselves to the world with a shared identity, so our voices are heard and taken into consideration when decisions are made. So count on Chile, we'll also count on you, and thank you very much for this opportunity.